This video will contain 4 true horror stories, taken from other people's experiences when they have encountered the supernatural. Whether you believe in this or not isn't for me to decide, but be sure that the individuals who have seen things not meant to be seen are firm believers. Also, remember to subscribe and like this video if you want me to create more content just like this. Sleepy Hollow, New York. It was a chilly autumn evening in the historic town of Sleepy Hollow, New York. Emily and her friend Axel stood in front of the infamous Van Tassel Manor, a haunted house that cast a frightening shadow over the neighborhood. With a mix of terror and curiosity, they had decided to undertake a challenge that would change their perspective on the supernatural forever. A truth or dare. Emily and Axel split up as they entered through the creaky doors of the decaying house. Emily, her heart pounding, ventured deeper into the corridors, while Axel explored other parts of the old building. Emily carried a flashlight and a camera, ready to document any supernatural occurrences. In the dim lighting, her camera began to flicker, and shadows danced along the peeling walls. Despite her growing discomfort, Emily pressed on and ventured deeper into the house. She stopped in front of an old door that creaked open. Axel had disappeared somewhere in the house, and Emily felt alone in the supernatural atmosphere. Once inside the room, she saw old furniture covered in dust and some pieces wrapped in faded sheets. Old photographs of the Van Tassel family adorned the walls, and the eyes of the figures in the pictures seemed to follow every step she took. In a corner, she saw a doll sitting on an old wooden chair. It was a contrast to the dusty and abandoned room. The doll was in perfect condition, as if it had recently come to life. Next to the doll, a small portrait hung on the wall, the only thing seemingly untouched by the ravages of time, clean and incredibly vivid compared to the rest of the room. Perplexed by the strange contrast, Emily approached cautiously. The doll's eyes seemed to follow her, and the portrait of the little girl radiated innocence. When Emily touched the doll, the room suddenly felt filled with a strong energy. A cold wind swept through the air, and children's laughter mingled with ghostly whispers. Suddenly, Emily's flashlight went out, and the room was filled with a chilling breeze. Panic seized her as whispers turned into desperate cries. She heard footsteps around her, but when she turned around, she saw no one. Confused and terrified, Emily rushed towards the exit, but the door suddenly slammed shut with a thud. She was now locked in the haunted room, and supernatural forces seemed to be at play around her. Shadows materialized, and the faces of tormented Van Tassel spirits appeared before her. With her heart in her throat, Emily struggled to try to open the door. The walls felt like they were closing in, and the whispers turned into loud lamentations. After escaping from the terrifying room, Emily stood alone in the corridor, breathless and trembling. She hurried towards the exit, her heart pounding in her chest like a drum of fear. When she opened the door to the chilly night, she was met by Axel, who had already left the haunted house. Emily tried to find the words to explain what had happened, but it was as if the terror had locked them in her throat. Finally, with a trembling voice, she managed to tell Axel about the supernatural experience in the dusty room, about the doll, and the portrait of the little girl that seemed to be portals to another time. Axel listened attentively, and when Emily finished the story, they were both met with an eerie silence. A faint wind whispered through the night, and in the distance, an owl hooted. They stood there, overwhelmed by the supernatural events that had unfolded inside Van Tassel Manor. The Woman Who Drowned. Jason had heard about the old house in the neighboring town, the one nobody dared to approach. People claimed it was haunted, that a tragic story hid behind its decaying facade. He had always been skeptical of supernatural claims, but curiosity prevailed this time. On a dark and foggy evening, Jason decided to explore the infamous house. The town was silent, and the streetlights cast faint shadows over the abandoned streets. The house loomed tall and dark at the street corner, as if it wanted to escape the attention of the passing world. With a fluttering feeling in his stomach, Jason approached the creaking gate and entered the overgrown yard. A cold breeze whispered through the trees, and leaves danced around his feet like ghostly shadows. He felt an indescribable unease, but his determination urged him forward. The door creaked eerily as Jason opened it. Inside, he was met with a dark silence. Dust danced in beams of light from a broken window as he crossed the threshold that no one else had dared to cross in decades. The lamp in his hand cast long shadows over the peeling walls as he began his exploration. Room after room revealed haunting beauty, and each creaking step made Jason jump. A scent of mustiness and decay hung heavily in the air. He forced himself to ignore it, assuring himself that it was just the result of prolonged decay. As he reached the upstairs, faint whispers reached his ears, as if the wind itself was trying to tell him to turn back. But Jason was a man of science and reason, sweeping aside thoughts of supernatural phenomena. Continuing his search, his steps led him to the basement stairs. Down there, it was darker than ever, and the air felt thick with unresolved sorrow. The weight in Jason's chest grew heavier, but he ignored it and descended into the darkness. The basement was filled with a whispering silence. Jason shone his light and discovered an old rusty tub. It was there that the woman, whose presence still lingered in the house, had taken her life. A wave of unease swept over him as he realized the unthinkable. This was where the horrific event had occurred. Suddenly, the air felt thicker, as if something intangible had sneaked in. Jason struggled to breathe, as if something physical pressed on his chest. Panic seized him as he realized he was alone in the dark space, beyond the reach of help. He stared at the rusty tub, the sensation of being in the presence of the supernatural overwhelming. He could almost hear the woman's last breath. Tortured by the grief of losing her family, Jason's heart pounded as he tried to comprehend what was happening. In a desperate move, he rushed towards the stairs, away from the malevolent tub. It was as if something invisible had released its grip on him. The air filled his lungs again as he climbed the stairs and emerged into the dim light from above. With trembling hands, he opened the door and fled the old house. Outside, the rain pounded against the ground and thunder rolled across the sky as a final warning. Jason stood there, drenched and shaken, promising himself never to ridicule supernatural claims again. That night, he returned to the town as a different man, one who had felt the cold spirit of past suffering firsthand. The house stood as a silent testimony to the tragedy, and Jason carried with him a chilling story that he could never forget. San Jose, California. In the heart of San Jose, California, a peculiar mansion stands as a testament to one woman's otherworldly quest for redemption, the renowned Winchester Mystery House. This architectural enigma transcends its physical dimensions, weaving a tale of grief, wealth, and a relentless pursuit to escape the clutches of vengeful spirits. Sarah Winchester, widow of William Wirt Winchester, heir to the Winchester Repeating Armed Company, found herself ensnared in a web of tragedy and wealth after her husband's demise in 1881. Legend has it that Sarah, in a desperate search for solace, consulted a medium who conveyed a chilling revelation. The ghosts of those felled by Winchester rifles were haunting her. To appease these malevolent spirits, the medium advised her to embark on an unceasing construction spree, turning her residence into an ever-expanding labyrinth. Thus began the construction of the Winchester Mystery House, an architectural marvel marked by its eccentricities. For 38 years, construction persisted around the clock, creating a structure with staircases leading to nowhere, doors opening into walls, and rooms piled atop one another. Sarah believed that this labyrinthine design would serve as refuge, confusing the spirits and ensuring her safety. The house bore the imprint of Sarah's unique decisions. The number 13, deemed unlucky by many, became a recurring motif. Chandeliers boasted 13 lights, windows featured 13 panes, and the mansion itself held 13 bathrooms. Each design choice was a calculated move in Sarah's quest to find order within the chaos that haunted her. The enigma extended beyond the physical construction. Sarah conducted nightly seances within her peculiar abode, seeking guidance from the very spirits she believed were her tormentors. It was during these sessions that she claimed to receive ethereal instructions, guiding the construction in ways only comprehensible to the spiritual realm. Over the years, the Winchester Mystery House has become synonymous, not just with architectural oddities, but also with paranormal activity. Visitors and staff members alike have reported inexplicable occurrences, disembodied voices echoing through the corridors, sudden drops in temperature, and phantom footsteps haunting empty hallways. These tales of the supernatural have only deepened the allure of this mysterious mansion, attracting those fascinated by both the architectural anomaly and the otherworldly mysteries that linger within its walls. The mansion's mystique invites contemplation beyond its physical structure, transcending into the psychological and historical realms. It embodies the intricate interplay of grief and wealth, illustrating how the human psyche can shape the physical world in an attempt to reconcile the tangible and intangible. The Winchester Mystery House stands not merely as a haunted mansion, but as a living testament to an era marked by the complexities of spiritualism, opulence, and the human quest for meaning. Its labyrinthine corridors beckon explorers, not just to navigate the twists and turns of its architecture, but to unravel the layers of mystery and history that continue to shroud its enigmatic legacy. The mansion, with its ever-expanding narrative, invites those willing to peer beyond the surface, offering a journey through the realms of both the corporeal and the ethereal. Amityville, New York. In the tranquil town of Amityville, New York, a house on Ocean Avenue became the site of a dark and harrowing event that would shake an entire family and give rise to one of the most talked about paranormal mysteries in modern history. Following the unimaginable murders committed by Ronald DeFeo Jr. in the house in November 1974, George and Kathy Lutz purchased the property. Despite being well aware of its bloody past, they could not have foreseen the malevolence that would soon sweep over their lives. The initial days in the new home were harmonious for the Lutz family, but soon mysterious events began to unfold. Noises resembling footsteps, unsettling odors, and a constant sense of surveillance quickly became part of their everyday reality. Reports emerged of chilling drafts permeating the rooms, and their 3 children began to experience nightmarish hallucinations, intensified by shadowy figures creeping around at night. George Lutz was particularly affected. At 3:15 in the morning, the exact time the DeFeo murders occurred, he claimed to be awakened by the intense activity of the spirit. The rooms in the house filled with an unexplained atmosphere of menace and fear, and the family felt increasingly isolated from the outside world. After 28 days, the Lutz family fled the home, turning over their experiences to paranormal researchers and writers. Based on their accounts, the book The Amityville Horror by Jay Anson was published, later becoming an international bestseller and inspiring several film adaptations. Despite skeptics questioning the veracity of the story, the events in Amityville have remained a deeply rooted part of paranormal and horror circles. The tale of the malevolence haunting the Lutz family has left a legacy of fear and fascination, a narrative that continues to cast its shadow over the dark chapter of Ocean Avenue 112.